Well, here we go. You get a bigger tent, you're probably going to want to get a bigger stove. So if you do check our channel, the tent behind me is the Dune 10.9. Absolutely massive upgrade from the 760 we had before. And the stove that we have, I'm sure, is too small for that space. This one might be overkill, but we are going to do an unboxing and first impressions of this stove as we do the burnout and stuff as well. This is by no means a premium stove. You've probably seen other videos out there that talk about it. If not, welcome to our channel. And please make sure that you like and subscribe and check out some of the other content that we actually have on the channel. So without further ado, let's get this thing unboxed, get the parts out, and talk through the specs. I did get this on sale, and I noticed, well, I should probably tell you where I got it on sale. I got this on sale at Bass Pro for under $300. Only to discover I was just on the Home Depot site, and it looks like they have it priced for about $279. So if you're looking for a place, and that's Canadian, by the way. So for our US viewers, it's probably like $5. I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. That the prices are quite a bit lower in the US. All right. So as we open this up, you can see everything is wrapped in plastic to protect from moisture, which is great. We do have the Alpine heavy duty cylinder stove guide, which will never be looked at. Let's get this thing out of its bag. I have to look online and see if I can get a good carrying case for this. And the first thing I'll tell you is that having carried this out from the store and from the vehicle, it's heavy. So you are not going to be taking this into any sort of backcountry conditions. I can feel the metal already. Good grief. It's a really thick gauge steel. And we're going to probably do our best to slide this out instead of pull it out because it is heavy. Oh boy. Not the most glamorous unboxing you've probably ever seen, but yeah, it is big. Okay. So number one, let's get it out of here and get rid of these materials. One of the first things I can say when I saw this, that the leg inserts here, some people have actually drilled out holes to be able to insert the legs, because one of the challenges is that unless you have a pair of pliers, it's very hard to get the legs on sturdy enough. So we have pliers, we'll be fine. Leave it upside down for now. So a nice little door latch there, and everything wrapped up nicely inside. Yeah, one of the things actually is in the pipe, you always want to have some kind of damper, not just on the stove itself, but also in the pipe. So it's really nice, big 5-inch thick heavy gauge steel. And so look forward to putting that in. And of course, we have our legs. And really thick steel on these as well. Really quite nice. And I'm sure from the price point, it's probably going to be the kind of steel that does get rusty. At the end of the day, do we really care? I would say the answer is no. I've seen people that have had these stoves for 5-6 years, and other than cosmetics, no complaints whatsoever. One of the other things we can see inside here is paper, and it's kind of fun because that little nest right there, I know it's also put in there just to stop things from, kind of bouncing around, and it's good at that, but it's also going to be the first fire starter to be able to get this thing going when we do the burn-in. All right. It does have 2 side racks for accessories. I'm pulling the first one out now. And they are really, really heavy gauge steel as well. And what I like about that is, I can tell you right now in a pinch, camping, this would make an excellent grill on an open fire. for actually doing a steak on the open fire. So I always like things that are multi-purpose, and these will definitely be that. So instantly, this stove has saved me from one camping accessory that I have to bring with me now when I'm at least winter camping. Now these pipes, as other viewers have stated, are not probably the highest quality. And they are nesting, so you have to be aware of that if you're looking for accessories, that it's technically a 5-inch pipe, but each one of these fit with inside of each other, so it's not a straight 5-inch. It actually does taper as you go up, and be cautious with the metal. I'll take the top one off first. The second one, you'll have to remember that when you put it back together, because everything fits nice and tidy. Right back in. Third one, it'll be pretty obvious, when you're putting it back together, I would think, how to actually, which one goes where. But there you go. And we'll see if that's high enough. The only other thing I might order for this is a 45-degree elbow to get the fire away from the tent more, just for sparks. You're not going to avoid getting spark holes in your tents. I've said that in other videos, but we'll do what we can. All right, let's set these up for now. One of the other things that it comes with, which is great, and I've seen a lot of people upgrade, but it's nice to have this at least included, is a mesh screen for, a spark arrestor, right? These are cheap as chips, so even if you have to replace these once a season, whatever. But they're kind of nice, at least for protecting the environment around you. I've never seen a spark arrestor which does a good job of protecting your tent, but at least if you're worried about starting a forest fire, that's a very nice feature. And that'll go on the smallest one here, I believe. Like so. And it doesn't get any simpler than that. So simple fixes, I like them, especially when you're camping and you're in the woods and you want one less thing to worry about. Here come the other grates. One of these. Sorry for the noise. I'm sure this microphone that I have is making a hell of a racket. Yeah, same thing. So these are the side grates now, which will go on the side of this for resting your plates, your coffee pots, your cooking things, etc. All right. So that's it. Really happy with the weight of this thing anyway, at least from a construction standpoint. Not going to be happy about hauling this thing into places. But typically, if you're hot tent camping in a tent that size, I will once in a while be with other people. And oftentimes, and I make no apologies for this, I like the car camping in the winter as well. We'll be doing that actually at Silent Lake, so make sure you check out that video. We've done it a couple times before. But both of those times we've done sled-in camping. So this time we're actually going to do the drive-in with this new stove and the larger tent. As it's the first time using both of them, I didn't really feel like being quite as remote as we sometimes are. So that's what we're going to do. All right, all the pieces are laid out. Now it looks like our buddy Luna is also having a look at the new stove. What do you think, Luna? Is that going to be good for us? She is my winter camping companion, if you haven't seen our other videos. And this will be her first time in the 10.9 as well, with this new stove. One of the principal reasons we actually got this stove for the larger tent was not only heat distribution, but for those that know, hey Luna, you can keep a fire going in those smaller stoves for about an hour and a half before you have to get up and stoke it again. And for those of us that are older, not really a big deal, but we'll see if we can get longer burn time out of this. Notice right there, we got a hole in the leg, which will help stabilize it. And over here, can't really see it because of the light, we got another one. But these guys, they don't have them. So it's a good thing I brought the pliers, but how strange is that? 2 legs meant to stay on, 2 legs meant to fall off. Classic. All right, so let's actually try this and see if it lines up with that hole. Yep, it does. So that is crazy what they have too. So if you're watching this video, Chef Camp, I'm not really sure why you would do it that way. Is there a specific reason, or what? It's actually a lot more stable if I don't use the hole. Maybe that hole's for something else. I don't know. I'm going to tighten it up anyway outside of the hole because it makes the leg more stable. If you're watching this and I'm just some rookie making a rookie mistake, let me know in the comments what that hole's for. But for now, I'm just going to get these pliers on there, make sure that it's tight. Oh yeah, once you use the pliers, man, that's not going anywhere. But again, you're not going to be able to get that finger tight enough to give you comfort, especially when you're dealing with very hot things. And just imagine if you're, for some reason, an emergency, had to move the stove and two of the legs fell off. Then your situation would get a lot worse in a hurry. And pro tip, as I like to give them once in a while, these pliers are going to go inside this and inside the box, so they don't ever forget them, because that is not something you'd want to forget. I may down the road actually drill the holes like other people have done. I'll probably simplify things even more, but for now, this is how they made it. This is how I'm going to use it. Okay, let's see. Are we satisfied? Oh God, it's not going anywhere. Okay, let's get this thing on the ground. Well, there she is. As you can see on the front side here, there is a vent for you to be able to leach it. It's got a nice handle just so you don't burn yourself. And then right inside here, the barrel, we're actually going to put in the grate. And before I put in the grate, I'm going to put in the little bit of fire starter they were kind enough to donate to the cause. And the skinnier middle one, it'll be pretty obvious, but it's the skinnier one that actually goes in here. Nice fit. I got lots of twigs and stuff to start that fire when we're ready. And then we'll put these guys on. So very simple. Just a couple of holes on either side. Set those in. The only thing I don't like about that is the design, at least anyway, is that it would be better if they were hooked arms. I feel. I'm sure that's going to be plenty stable. But the hooked arms, you know what I mean? To have some gravity that holds those down. But pretty impressed so far. Let's get the pipe in. We'll see how tall this thing actually is when we put it together. Get all of our pieces. Oh. Okay, our first job, which I'm not looking forward to. I've never done this before. It's actually putting in the little thing, but I think once that's in, we should still be able to pack it up. I've got no idea how to get it out. Wow. I'm sure there's a video on this. I am at a loss. Oh, here we go. I say push it in. There we go. So use the power of the spring. Push it in. And oh boy, let's see. Hopefully it's enough room for my hand. Oh yeah, this is going to be a lot easier than I thought. A lot easier than I thought. There we go. Oh, look at that. It's got a little handle there so you don't burn yourself. And I'll show you what it looks like inside. That was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. There we go. You really want that because adjusting it just from the stove itself is never, ever, ever enough. You really have to be able to control the heat. I've seen people that are hot tent camping for the first time, and I'm sure that sits pretty well. You can always tell first timers. Look who's talking. This should never be red hot. Like ever on planet Earth should this ever be red hot. And I've heard people saying comments because they were either embarrassed or didn't know what they were talking about, saying, "Oh no, it's you get a lot more heat that way." And if you're burning the stove properly, you don't really have to worry about, honestly, ever. Not yet. About that problem. I don't think that goes like that. It should get bigger. Yeah, slightly smaller. God, what a rookie. Okay, so I think that's going to be plenty tall. And obviously in the tent, you put it together in kind of two sections, right? Get this puppy up. I'm not going to worry too much about the top one because burning that one in, it's outside of the tent. I don't have as much worry about it. And this seems plenty high. Oh yeah, good golly. So this in the tent, I am going to put it on actually. Why not? In for a penny, in for a pound. Wow. That should be plenty tall for a new tent. It's a tight squeeze, which is good. And one other thing I like about this design, although it's cheaper, than some of the other ones I've used, is that Korea seat, should you encounter it, which you sometimes will, and in one of my videos, you'll see me dealing with Korea seat, and that can be a bit of a nightmare. I'm going to take that top piece off for the Burnout. That is much taller than the tent, and that's all I was hoping for. Just to see how it actually does come outside the tent. So I may not even use that. Yeah, I'll probably use it. Higher's better. One other thing I have to figure out is a contraption to guyline this, because obviously when you're camping and you get heavy winds, you want to make sure that pipe's as steady as it can be. And I'm not convinced or happy about not having a guyline thing. So for Camp Chef, not a big deal. I'm sure I'll figure out how to DIY it, but it would be nice to have some at least connecting points on that last piece for some guidelines, just for safety. All right, so I think we have everything we need here. I got some paper in there already. I got these nice dry twigs. Lots of great things to get the fire started. And also here on the stove, I'll show you a piece in a minute. It's actually South American hardwood, and it's non-treated, but apparently it's used as pallets for really heavy materials like stone and metal and other things that people might be transporting. And it's really cool and really heavy. But as you'll notice, it's too long for the smaller stove that we had, and I was really hoping that it would fit here in the Camp Chef. And it fits perfectly. So we're gonna maybe try and burn a couple of those in there just to see how they burn, and crank this thing up a little bit. So while this is cooking, we're actually gonna do some work on the chimney to make sure it holds together. So I got some materials, which I'll show you in a minute, for guy lining and getting that all set up. And that's one thing I would say to everyone buying these. Call me crazy, but I would not personally be putting that thing in my hot tent without some guy lines on it. Just these pieces are too loose. So only complaint. And if that's the only complaint we have, great. And one of the things that's really critical, especially the first time you get one of these stoves, is to make sure that you burn it in. And it's for a very special reason. And so you don't choke yourself out with toxic fumes, which is never fun. So burn it up before you get home. The other thing is to test it out. And for example, I would have never known about my anxiety about the stovepipes not really holding together as tightly if I hadn't first put it together. So little lessons learned, right? This will get rid of all the toxic smells and everything. Looks like we're going to be good here in a minute. I wonder, maybe I'll hold off on these. Maybe I'll wait till tonight, because we are just trying to burn this out. I'll put the little one in. Why not? A little chunk of that in there. We got some traditional hardwood here. I'll burn a few of these pieces. Give that a go. That should be enough. And as I said, tickle pink that this thing will actually take full-size logs. And according to the guy I reached out to on YouTube, again, whose channel I'll post here, he was kind enough to let me know that once you get this thing dialed up and hot, he's been able to keep a fire going inside there for over 8 hours. And honestly, if I could get 5 or 6, I'd be happy. Got that pretty hot in there right now, so that's all the way open. There we go, gang. You can start to see that it's off-gassing whatever that terrible stuff is that coats things when you get them for the first time. And that's what we want burn off. That is not steam. There's been nothing on there other than the paint that it came with. So let's go fix the top so we can use Guylines. As we're in the MacGyver business, I got these lovely shower hanger things, which we're going to attach onto this ring. And then we're going to use the carabiners. They're going to come off. We're going to use those on the Guylines and attach them as needed onto the shower rings, which will be our main supports and anchors. Feeling pretty good about this MacGyver hack. I don't know, what do you think? Leave it in the comments. Dumb idea? Good idea? How's this going to turn out? All right, what we're going to do first is get these on. And I'm going to try and attach it so that once it's on, like that, it'll rest against the metal. We'll just need 3 of those. And see, Luna's very interested in this whole exercise. Okay. And this is how we get heat. There we go. So all 3 of those now. And start to tighten this up again. This is the very top, so we don't have to worry about it cinching too much. There we go. Got that one, got that one. There we go. Just to show you what we've done, we've actually got 3 attachments now at the top, which we can now use to attach our guylines. These will be good and solid now that this thing is on as tight as a drum. You can see now that the stovepipe is starting to discolor, and that's exactly what we want. And this steel, it is galvanized, right? So that is what you want to make sure that you start to burn some of that off. It'll keep the rust off, but it also increases the fumes. So getting close. Look at those pretty trees in the background, eh? That's actually not why we're here. Why we're here is that in this tent, it's kind of weird. The hole itself is actually too big for some of the pipes. It's actually better. This one's smaller than the ones I've done in the past. But of course, that's not going to work, for this, right? So we have to actually carve this out to make it fit our purposes. There we go. That's cutting a little close. Might want to look at an insulator. I'll probably take it down a little bit. But what I'm going to do is a little trick that I learned. Instead of cutting it right through, we're just going to cut it down to there. Do the same here. Put another one here. Another one here. And the trick is it'll kind of fold. This fireproof material will just fold around the pipe. And that way you don't go too far. So it's really just a guideline. And remember, that pipe didn't fit. Let's have a look at it now. There we go. And that is what I call a pretty panda. This is an expression I learned from a friend because pandas are so pretty. And when it's perfect, that's a pretty panda. All right, there we go, gang. You can see that we have the stack up and it is Guyline down. And we tested it last night and we actually did stay in the tent and it got pretty windy. It was a good test to do it at home. And what I did was actually had to get this one Guyline on this side down, just attached it to the picnic table last night. Just to make sure that that was good. And we were good. Everything stayed on the way it should. So let's go in the tent and give a final review on the Camp Chef Alpine. All right, here we are inside the tent. Like I said, we did stay in here last night just to give it a test. And not only because we needed to, I do believe in testing everything before actually going camping. But also just because it's fun. You get some new toys, a new tent, and a new stove, and I'm really glad I did, and I'll tell you why before we get to the final review. So the stovepipe here, you remember earlier in the video I said rookies where the stovepipe gets hot. This thing with that South American hardwood is almost dangerous, and I actually had to dial down the damper, like literally closed. And of course, you did see when I installed it, it doesn't completely close anyway. There's a small gap just around that ring, and then really dial down the front of it too to get that to calm down. One thing that I was not happy about was because it was so hard to control that heat initially, that the top of the tent was getting pretty warm, warmer than I would have liked. So it did make me think I've got one more thing on order now, which will show up tomorrow, which is basically kind of a heat wrap just for the section, let's say a foot below where it's exiting the tent and a foot above, just to make sure that that heat is not, expanding throughout the tent fabric. It's fine. Nothing's burnt. The other thing I'll say, which is really cool, is that there were no sparks. And, that has as much to do with good wood as it does anything else. I'm not saying that the stove is doing that, because you burn wet wood of any kind and you're going to get more sparks. So definitely the dry wood helped. But because it is so high above the tent, I think if there were any residual sparks, that they probably just exited, kind of away from the tent. So pretty happy with that. The smaller tent, if you watch our other videos with the small wood stove, I actually had to elevate it on a platform to be able to get it up high enough to be able to get the pipes to be far enough away from the tent. I'm still not 100% satisfied with that setup. But yeah, the Camp Chef, definitely a great little stove. We were so comfortable in here last night. Once we did learn how to, dial it down, because it is a different stove, we were comfortable all night. Now, I did not get 8 hours of burn time. What I can say, though, I think comfortably, is that I did, when I had it dialed down, I got about 5 hours of burn time. Now, obviously, I don't have the stove fully loaded because this tent is too small for, that kind of heat, right? So I'll take it. I mean, the small stove that I use in the smaller tent, I'm lucky if I get, if I'm pushing it, I can get close to 2 hours, but generally it's, you're kind of up every hour and a half to load it. So generally that means I take the heater buddy with me. I don't always want to get up, every hour and a half, right? So I take the heater buddy, use that for general, sleeping heat. And of course, the sleep system I have is good enough to, keep me comfortable, to about minus 10 degrees Celsius. But it's still not that comfortable. You want to sit in the tent and enjoy it. And I do get up and decide to read a book or, look at the stars or whatever. It's nice to have that heat. At any rate, so would I recommend the Camp Chef Alpine? I'm going to say yes, I would. Certainly the stove, I would definitely recommend at that price point. Really solid metal. Seems like a really good heat retention design, and I look forward to actually using it in the wild. Would I recommend the pipe? Absolutely not. It is the most garbage thing I've ever seen in my life. The way that it joins together, the quality of the material. I do have the Guyline there now, and I've seen people say they've used the pipes for 5 years or whatever. But that's one thing that maybe in the future I'll look at potentially replacing. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. It really helps a small channel like ours to be able to develop and grow, based on viewers like you. Hopefully we've given you some good insights and things that you can take away for your next camping trip. And as I like to say at the end of many of my videos, get out now and explore.